We were there for several years, and then we moved to Washington. We came back for family reasons, and we moved into the same house. Things were great.
It was pretty regular, you know, everybody got along, and busy with 3 kids and just living life. It was just normal life, you know. It was great.
All right, so we got a case. It's involving a husband, a wife, 3 daughters. The claims are huge. I mean, I got a report that there was a little girl sighted, or at least what she said was a little girl in the basement. She said that it was almost black and white, like it almost looked like a projection.
I had gone downstairs to gather my makeup up and get ready to go see a movie, and I was bending over and I could feel behind me just pure evil. It's hard to explain, almost like every hair on your body is raised at the same exact time. So when I turned around, there was a little girl standing there that kind of looked almost like an X-ray, but with skin. She seemed to be about 10 years old, and she was peeking around the door jamb, so I could only see her upper body, but her fingers were incredibly long and wide. Well, after I saw her, I instantly wanted to run, but I couldn't. My body was completely paralyzed, and I just stood there staring at her, which seemed like forever. When I finally was able to move, I ran up the stairs as fast as I could and slid back down them, almost like being pulled, and got back upstairs and still had no speech. I couldn't find words and couldn't do anything. The only thing I could do was cry. It wasn't until Crossing Over Paranormal Society came in that they did their investigation and kind of led us on the right path. Like I said, we were feeling pretty hopeless and didn't know where to turn.
When Crossing Over Paranormal Society arrived at the house, it was comforting to receive some validation and understanding just from the first appointment.
It started out with creaky floorboards and faucets turning on and off. And then it turned into something a lot darker. The sounds of it almost sounded like, in their description of it was a washing machine or a dryer being dragged across the driveway. They were hearing noises like that in their front driveway and inside the house. There's reports of seeing black shadows, black silhouettes, black free-floating orbs in the house. But this is all happening along with nightmares, night sweats, the whole gamut. I mean, you got everything.
The activity had been going on the entire 12 years we lived in the house. It started with knocks and bumps and kind of the doors sucking shut when the air would come on, and my youngest daughter would talk to an imaginary friend, and we all thought that this was just kind of normal, living in an older home and normal 3-year-old behavior to have an imaginary friend.
My first impression that our house was haunted and we were dealing with a ghost. It seemed like it might have been innocent at first, faucets turning off and on. One of the biggest things that watching the dogs have nightmares over and over again, and then wondering myself, what's happening to me while I'm sleeping. So it's kind of a fear of the unknown.
So what's going on? Like, what do we think this case potentially is? We've heard the claims. Some of us have actually gone out there to investigate and actually speak with these people and witness some things themselves. So I mean, what are some of your viewpoints as to what this really is?
I think it could be a possibility that they're throwing out a lot of poltergeists on their own. Seeing the pictures of the 12-year-old that she had on the wall was very demonic looking.
Well, I learned that the children had used the Ouija board. After all of these things were happening, they came to me and told me that they used the Ouija board. They were afraid to tell me.
Now, Roy, you did a test on the board, as did we did when Marie and I had our initial visit there before the team had actually come in. We had off-the-chart readings on the Ouija board using our EMF detector. We really couldn't explain it, couldn't really debunk it, really couldn't really explain the activity. It seemed like kind of too high for anything. Even when you even go to light plugs and light switches in houses, you don't generally get that high of a spike. But you, when we were on the investigation, you experienced this multiple times yourself, right?
I agree. So when we were doing our initial EMF sweeps through the house, we did go to the Ouija board. We did do several sweeps through there. It is kind of weird that right at the Ouija board, it would spike out all the way, and you kind of walk, when you just kind of try to walk away from it, it would completely dead. Go through the rest of the house, nothing really. You go back to the board, it did spike again several times.
Wow. So what would you chalk that up to being, though? I mean, in your opinion?
It's hard to say because I know on that case there's a refrigerator right on the other side of the wall, and there's stuff on unknown. I know the theory is that when there is activity, it does make the EMF detector spike. But given what we know about EMF detectors, how susceptible they are to interference, it definitely could have been paranormal, definitely could have been demonic, or it could have been something explained. Honestly, unfortunately for that, we'll never quite know.
I noticed that the haunting was turning darker when my children were all absolutely terrified. They were sleeping in the same bed as us, did not want to be in the house alone at all. And they would talk about things that they had seen and heard. I guess that's probably when I realized that things were not right, I was terrified that horrible things were going to happen.
If there's any human spirits with us in this room, can you open the closet in this first room that I'm pointing to? Did you hear that? No, seriously, guys, I'm not joking. Did you actually hear that? No. I heard a female voice. It sounded like it was coming from upstairs. There's no one upstairs, correct?
Nope.
As soon as we got there, as we're setting up the gear, automatically you felt a heaviness in the chest, a heaviness all over.
Open that door. Well, you don't have enough energy to do that, but you could follow me home and play Hell in My Life? Open the door.
One thing that threw me when we were doing the investigation is in the youngest child's room, where all the pictures of the girl drowned the demons, and the closet was in that room where most of the activity is supposedly coming from. I step in the room with my camera, which is a professional camera, and it's on. I cannot take pictures. It won't focus, nothing. I step out of the room, everything's working fine. And so I switch it over to manual focus because it was dark. Step back in the room, nothing happens. And just making that one small step into a room and out of the room made all the difference for the camera. It was to the point where I was actually getting pretty upset about it, figuring something happened with my camera, to the point where the people upstairs watching me on DVR saw me getting upset and came down to make sure I was okay. Yeah, outside of that room, I had no issues whatsoever. I could take pictures in complete darkness. No issues whatsoever outside of that room. I've never experienced that before. I've tried to duplicate it and I can't get the same result.
I'm feeling that same sensation on my arm again. Anybody have a K2 or anything? Is there someone touching me? If so, give us a sign. Do something.
You need K2? Anybody got K2?
Open this door again, if that's you. Don't let it touch me. It might go up. Just go ahead. That's all pretty much. Right here, though, so I feel like I don't really feel it this much right now. Interesting. What the hell? Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, but I don't know if someone went upstairs.
No, I heard that. Did you hear that?
I just felt kind of like the heaviness of what was going on in the house, family issues, along with the spirits.
Killing me. It's like the pressure hurts so
Know that you
bad.
have no rights of harming anybody or any of my crew or anybody that's here. You know this. I know that whatever's here has visited me in my dreams. It's played out its actions in my own life. I had the cops crew come out tonight because we've been experiencing a lot of activity over the course of several months now, especially after taking a demonic case about 3 months ago, which involved the Ouija board, a family in distress, and a demonic entity that seemed to be plaguing this family for many years. As we took this case, it definitely started affecting us in our own home almost immediately. While we were on that case, here at our own house, our babysitter reported at the same time in the hour that we were performing the blessing that a bird cage was being thrown across our bedroom. When I came home, I found the mess and a scared babysitter sitting on the couch.
Our cabinets opening, doors actually slamming, my child actually screaming in the middle of the night. I've had scratch marks. I hear things, weird men saying things like moaning noises. Heard a woman actually laugh. We've had a cross that fell down on the ground. I've been marked up by a pin that more or less left a cross sign on my leg.
We had a blood spot that appeared on the floor out of nowhere, and a missing knife that was found in a very unlikely area. It definitely terrified our entire family. It definitely terrified me as a father, worrying that, oh my God, what I do on the outside has now affected me here on the inside. Being a sensitive, I've always experienced the paranormal, but with this case actually intensifying the activity here in our own home, it was hard for me. It was hard for me to deal with.
I'm scared, to be honest with you. I have 2 young children that live here, and I don't want nothing more to happen to them. My 16-year-old has autism, and he is very fearful of whatever's bothering him. I want it to help him, what we're doing, but I am fearful that it might worsen it. So I want to ensure that we're taking all means to actually make sure that this doesn't cause my children any more pain and suffering.
I can tell you that it has in some ways deterred me from wanting to go out and take other cases, simply because I worried that I would have these piggyback effects from the entities coming back to the house. After dealing with what I've dealt with here and realizing that I can overcome it, and knowing in good faith that we will be able to overcome this, I just want to continue to go out there and help other families. If these demons are so pissed off that they're going to come after me and my own family, then I'm definitely going to fight back. I'm not just going to sit down and ignore it. I'm going to fight back even harder. Obviously, I'm making a dent somewhere in the pits of hell, and I'm going to keep on pushing until it kills me, I guess, you know?